Are you feeling like you don't belong here? Like everyone else is smarter, more capable, and you're just faking it, or you're a fraud? If so, please know that you are not alone. That's imposter syndrome, and it's incredibly common in college. If it helps to know, I'm a psychologist for youth, and I've helped so many teens and college students navigate imposter syndrome. I remember feeling a lot of imposter syndrome during college and grad school especially. Thankfully, that faded away over time, and now I'm here to help you through it. In this video, we're going to break down what imposter syndrome is, why it hits so hard in college, and most importantly, practical strategies you can start using today to overcome it and truly thrive. So what is imposter syndrome really? Well, it's not a diagnosis, it's nothing official or anything like that. It's more of a common way that people talk about this deep-seated self-doubt that we can have. It's sometimes defined as the persistent belief that your successes are due to luck or deception rather than your own abilities, despite evidence to the contrary. When I really reflect back on my conversations with college students who are struggling with imposter syndrome, there's a song lyric that comes to mind. It's a Radiohead song called Creep, and the lyric says, "I don't belong here." That to me is the heart of what imposter syndrome feels like. We feel like we don't belong here. Some of the key characteristics of imposter syndrome are these: feeling like a fraud, fear of being found out, attributing success to external factors, dismissing praise, having a hard time letting it sink in, perfectionism, and overworking. Imposter syndrome hits really hard in college for these reasons. One, you're in a new, highly competitive environment. This is a different ballgame. This is not high school anymore. Number two, you're surrounded by high achieving peers. So you're going to be around really smart people, and even more of them than you experienced in high school. You're going to hear them raising their hand in class and saying really smart stuff, and you're going to notice that they're getting really good grades. This is a different ballgame. Three, the challenge of school itself has leveled up. If this was a video game, you're in a whole new world now, and the academic demands are higher compared to high school. What's required of you is higher compared to high school. Four, there's the everyone else knows illusion. It's easy to think that other people are doing awesome and other people are living their best lives and they're always super successful. And social media, of course, makes this illusion worse because we only see, well, for the most part, we usually see these highlight reels of happy people at the beach with their dog or whatever. You don't see the quiet hidden moments where other students are super stressed out or having a breakdown where they're crying because they just don't know how they're going to get through it. You don't see the hidden moments where they're having a panic attack, right? Reason number five is that college is a transitional, highly formative time in our lives where the stakes feel high because they are higher than what we've had before. That can be grades, GPA, and it can also be the implications of grades and GPA, like getting an internship, picking a major, or a future career path. There's so many decisions in front of us, and all of this gives us ample opportunity to compare ourselves to other people and wondering whether we really measure up. The more we look to our right and to our left and compare ourselves to others, the more opportunity we have to feel inadequate ourselves. Reason number six is that perfectionism can become unsustainable in college. We might have been able to be high achieving almost to a perfectionistic degree in high school, but this can really start to break down in college and especially in grad school. In college, what got you here is not going to get you to the next level. What I mean by that is the habits that you had in high school, the expectations you had for yourself in high school, the grades that you had in high school, those strategies are not necessarily going to work the same in college. And ironically, they helped you get into college, but you need to recalibrate with new habits, a new lifestyle, and new expectations now that you're here in college. We need to be more intentional about what our goals are. So please do not just default to your goal being all A's all the time, every day, and instead really reflect on what a realistic expectation for yourself is, rather than letting the educational system just tell you, like, you know, all A's all the time or whatever. You don't need all A's all the time or whatever to graduate. You don't need them to get an internship, and you don't need them to get into grad school or get a job after college. So really reflect on what your goals are, and then what does that mean about what your expectations are realistically for this time in college. What are some practical strategies you can use to overcome imposter syndrome and truly thrive? Acknowledge and name it. The first step is to recognize what you're feeling. When imposter syndrome shows up for you, you just recognize that for yourself, and you can be like, oh, here's imposter syndrome. You can even give it a name, like, I don't know, Beelzebub. Oh, here's Beelzebub showing up again. And whether you call it imposter syndrome or you call it Larry or whatever, naming it takes the power out of it and helps you to see it more clearly. So an action step for this is to even keep a journal. When you feel self-doubt creeping in, write it down and identify it. A next tip is to talk about it. You are not alone. Share with someone else, a trusted person who's a good listener. Share with them that sometimes you struggle a little bit with imposter syndrome. Your action step here is to actually have a vulnerable moment where you share, like, yeah, sometimes I'm struggling with, like, do I really belong here? Sometimes I'm struggling with imposter syndrome, and let that be known. You'd be surprised how powerful it is to just admit that and also to see how the other person responds. The next strategy is actually to keep track of your achievements. And by that, I don't mean checking your grades compulsively all the time. Most of the students that I talk to are very modest people who don't want to publicly brag about stuff, and I really respect that, but this can just be a private thing that's only for you. You don't have to show anybody else, but start keeping a flex folder, which is kind of like a list of your wins. Keep a running log of things that you've accomplished. It could be big things, it could be small things, it could be grades, it could be positive feedback from, I don't know, a classmate or from a coach or a TA or a professor. It could be projects that you're proud of, that you completed. It could be skills that you developed that you didn't have before, regardless of whether you got a grade for them or not. So your action step for this is actually to start making a little flex folder and contribute to it on a regular basis. Your next strategy is to reframe your thoughts. Challenge your negative self-talk messages that you're telling yourself. So instead of attributing your successes to, like, unrelated external things, like, instead of telling yourself, oh, I'm so lucky that I passed, or, well, that teacher's just nice, try to actually give yourself some credit in how you attribute your successes. Try saying something to yourself like, I worked hard and I earned this grade. So your action step here is to practice positive self-talk and use thoughts like, I can study for this, I belong here, I'm here to learn, this is a solvable problem. And the giving yourself credit part, you know, that would be like, all right, I worked really hard to study for that test. And you can leave it at that, right? Even regardless of your grade. Which brings us to our next strategy, which is to focus on growth, not perfection. College is about learning and growing. It's not about being perfect from day one. By the way, perfect is boring. Perfection is really boring. So have some fun and be imperfect and be human. If it's about learning, then people who know everything shouldn't be on college campuses. We should pick them up and punt them like a football and get them off the campus, right? Because if we're there to learn, like, and you know everything already, why are you here? If you don't know everything, then that means you belong here because this is about learning and this is about growth. So embrace mistakes as learning opportunities, and remember, this really is about growth. So your action step here is to actually set process goals rather than outcome goals. So what that means is, instead of having an outcome goal that's like a grade, instead of a goal like I'm gonna get an A on that test or an A minus or a B or whatever, that's an outcome. Set a process goal, like I will study for 2 hours for this exam, or I will review chapter 14 from the study guide. And those are goals that are related to your process, your effort, your time, rather than an outcome. The next strategy is to connect with your peers. And this helps you to be collaborating more than comparing. Form study groups with people, help each other out, realize that everyone has strengths and everyone has weaknesses. And you can see that more easily if you kind of connect with people around studying and helping each other out. Learning from each other is powerful. And you're gonna learn not only about the content of what you're trying to learn, but you're also gonna learn about the people you're studying with, and it's gonna give you context for your learning as well. So the action step for this one is to join a club or a study group related to your major or your interests. The next strategy is to seek support when needed. Your college has resources for a reason, and they sometimes, depending on the resource, depending on the school, they can kind of be underutilized sometimes. So there's counseling services, there's academic advisors, there's tutoring centers, there's career centers. They're there to help you succeed. It's their job. People are paid to help you succeed. So I understand, like you might be assigned an academic advisor that maybe isn't the ideal fit for you, but try to see how that person can help you, or try to see how someone in their career center might be able to benefit your growth, or look over your resume, or whatever the case may be. Use these resources that are there to support you, and that's your action step. Look up your college's support services and use the ones that could benefit you. The next strategy is to celebrate small wins. Don't wait for a huge achievement or some massive milestone. Celebrate finishing a tough assignment, or understanding a difficult concept, or even just showing up and doing the best that you could that day. And so your action step for this is to treat yourself after achieving a small milestone. And that could be a process-oriented milestone, like working on something for a certain number of hours. And it doesn't have to be about an outcome, like the grade. The next strategy is to remember that you went through an admissions process to get here. Part of the college or university's job is to screen out people who are not a good fit for their school. They saw you on paper, maybe they even got to know you in an interview, and they made a decision to let you into this school. That was not an accident, that was not a mistake. Your action step for this one is to actually practice reminding yourself that you belong here. I belong here. It's a really powerful thought that you can practice telling yourself. The more you own that about yourself, the more you practice the belief in your mind, the more it'll start to feel true in your emotions. College is awesome. Please don't let imposter syndrome steal your fun or steal your joy. Tell it to take a hike. Tell your imposter syndrome to get lost and not come back. So if you're struggling in general with anxiety and you want your parents to understand your anxiety better, please share the link for my free anxiety training with them. You can find the link in the pinned comment below and in the description. And that's a free training where they'll learn 3 keys for helping you with anxiety. And they'll also learn more about my signature anxiety program, which is designed to help you move forward in your education and in your friendships without waiting, missing out, or being held back by the mental health system. And you can do that online in a self-paced way from the comfort of your dorm without any appointments or Zoom calls or scheduling or anything like that. So share that link with your parents, and of course, you're also welcome to watch that training yourself. And I hope you do. Hope to see you there. All right.